So your overall combined evaluation hit 70%, and now you're stuck like a tank in the mud and wondering how in the world are you ever going to get to that 100%? The VA won't tell you how to move forward, but I will. I've seen hundreds of veterans plateau at 70%. The good news is you probably already have what you need in your file, and you just need to know how to use it. That's why today I'm breaking down the top 5 tricks to go from 70% all the way to 100. So let's get your rating where it belongs, maxed out. Trick number 5 is where it all starts. This list is meant to be in a sequential order, counting down from 5 all the way to 1. Trick number 3 is an absolute secret weapon, and anyone who's already in that 100 club knows this, so get on board. At the end, stick around for claim advice. As always, do me a favor though, help me help you. I realize you can just skip to the end, find out what the 5 tricks are, and move on with your day, but the real meat of helping me help you is what is being said, not what is written. So give me 20 minutes or less, and I'll give you enough information to put you closer to or in that 100 club. I'm Mr. X. I'm the guy behind that guy, giving you all the information you want to know and need to know about the VA claims process. And this is the VA Top 5. Trick number 5, review your previous ratings for quick bumps. Now I'm going to give you a few different examples of how you can do this to get that bump. First, many veterans' disabilities are evaluated under the wrong diagnostic code. Some codes max out at a lower percentage, while others overlap and can combine to reach that 100%. You'd be shocked how many veterans are rated under the wrong code. Some of these codes literally cap your rating no matter how bad your condition gets. Another example, I've seen plenty of veterans who are rated for chronic pain under the wrong musculoskeletal code when they actually had radiculopathy or neuropathy and should have been rated higher under the neurological body system. So that pain for that radiculopathy or neuropathy that was miscategorized as chronic pain and rated as painful motion of the wrist for the 10%. Now, if it was rated for radiculopathy or neuropathy under the neurological body system, it can be 30, 40%. So it's a huge difference. So look at your disabilities, go through all your recent rating decisions, compare it with the VA's rating schedule, and make sure it matches what's in your medical records. So that's one instance of how you can review your ratings for quick bumps. The second is if you're service connected for any musculoskeletal disability. Now, depending on how long you've been service connected for, okay, depending on that length may determine if you were evaluated under an old rating schedule or the newer one. If it was under the older one, you may have a lower evaluation than what the minimum is. So if all you have is chronic pain, okay, I have it broken down here. If all you have is chronic pain, the minimum you should get for, doesn't matter if it's your spine, your elbows, wrists, thumb, finger, index finger, and long finger, all of them should get 10% each. Okay? Your low back, your hips, your knees, ankles, feet, 10% each, no matter what. Your shoulders are a little bit different. Your shoulders, the minimum for pain alone is 20%. So if you're service connected for any of these conditions, doesn't matter how it's labeled. It could be, left knee strain, right hip strain, okay, left elbow, right shoulder, okay, any of them. If they're below that target, if they're below 10% or 20% for the shoulders, then this is an instance where you could apply for an increase and get a quick bump. Because with painful motion, you will absolutely qualify for that higher percentage if you're currently service connected at a lower percentage. So the things to remember out of this: wrong codes equal wrong ratings and even lower money, lower percentages. Also, make your plan. Break out the piece of paper, the Excel doc, Word doc, whatever doc you use on your computer. Write this down. What's your way you're going to get there? Okay? Track all the conditions that you're service connected for. Okay, does it line up with the minimum set for chronic pain? Write it all out, though. Don't just expect that you're going to remember every little bit of it, because You're probably not, and that's okay. Write it all out and make a plan. All right. Trick number 4, identify conditions masked by medication. If you watch my previous video talking all about Ingram v. Collins, you'll know that if you're service-connected for a musculoskeletal condition, then you could be entitled to a higher rating. Large in part because this case confirmed that if medication that you're taking, it masks your symptoms, or if those medications help you out to increase your range of motion of your back, your hips, your knees, well, the VA has to consider your unmedicated severity of that condition. And that's what the VA should be rating you on. So going back to trick number 5, identify all the joints that you're service connected for. Okay, write those out. Check up on the rating decisions to see where you're at, to see the range of motion measurements and what is listed. Cross-check those with the VA rating schedule, because if you're constantly taking medication for your hips, your backs, your knees, whatever musculoskeletal condition it is, and you're close to that next threshold to bump you up from 10 to 20 or 20 to 40, then you're absolutely going to want to file a claim for increase here, because if they have to consider your condition without the effects of medication, then your evaluation is going nowhere but up. Thing to remember here, don't let the medications hide your true rating. Trick number 3, secondary conditions are the secret weapon. If you're already service connected at 50%, 60%, 70%, there's a good chance that you already have secondary issues caused by the primary service connected ones. Okay? All of these secondary conditions add up and can be higher than your primary condition. And all of these secondary conditions is what takes you from 7 to 80, 70 to 90, or even all the way to 100%. Think about this. Your bad back, your service-connected low back can cause sciatica. If it's in both extremities, you can have up to 4 different ratings for the nerve evaluations in your lower extremities. That's all secondary to your back. Your PTSD or your other mental health condition, that can lead to sleep apnea, hypertension, gastroesophageal reflux disease, GERD. Okay, they're all secondary, so stack them smart. Other things to consider. If you're service connected for diabetes, that can lead to peripheral neuropathy, hypertension, retinopathy. There's renal or kidney involvement with all of that if you stack them smart. The other huge one, absolutely huge one, is this. If you're service connected for any condition that causes chronic pain, generally those are going to be your musculoskeletal conditions, knees, hips, back. Okay? If due to that chronic pain, you also have a diagnosed anxiety or depressive condition, that can also be service connected. And that is absolutely huge. So the thing to remember here is build your secondaries from what's already service connected, otherwise known as stack your seconds. Go through all the conditions that you're service connected for, your primary ones. Write it out on a sheet of paper, okay? And then look up conditions related to your primary condition. Put it into your favorite internet browser. Go to your favorite AI program, ChatGPT, and say what conditions are related or normally related to a bad low back. And it'll shoot you out a long list of things to look for. Cross-reference those against your current diagnosed conditions, because boom, right there. Those are your secondary conditions. Build from that, stack your seconds. That's how you get to 100%. Trick number 2, get updated medical evidence. Now, give me a second here, okay? I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking, I don't want to get a private DBQ or an exam. I don't want to go get a private opinion or nexus. I'm not talking about that, okay? Oftentimes, if you file a claim, okay, doesn't matter what it is, knee, hip, back, headaches, migraines, PTSD, mental health, any of the above, okay? If you're not getting your treatment, if your primary care doctor is not at the VA, then there's a good chance that they don't have your current medical evidence. So when you file that claim or that supplemental claim, and it details all of your symptoms related to your condition, okay, if you're not getting your care at the VA, then they're not going to have what that updated symptoms or evidence are, okay? So make sure that if you're seen by a private healthcare provider outside of the VA, make sure that you put that on your supplemental claim, on your claim for increase, on your claim of service connection, that, hey, these records are associated with this disability and the VA will go get it for you. You can submit them with your claim. Okay, you can do that. Sometimes to get those medical evidence from your doctor, sometimes it costs a little bit of money. Sometimes it doesn't. It depends on your doctor. But submit it with your claim and the VA will go get it for you. That way, they have all the information in their file, all the updated information, I should say, in your file. Now, this shouldn't be the case, hey, I'm not advocating get your claim at the VA or not. That's totally up to you. As far as evaluating your claim goes, it's easier with all that medical evidence already at the VA because they can just go get it. The VA can look it up, add it to your file, and it's a one-stop thing, one-stop shop, boom, done. But in the event that you see another doctor outside of the VA, make sure that that evidence is in your file, because if not, then they're just flying blind. You may not get that exam, you may not get that claim for increase, you may not work out. So keep this in mind. Outdated evidence equals underrated claims. Trick number 1, file a claim for increase or supplemental claim. Make your plan. I can already hear you complaining already. There's already a big, air vacuum in the room. It's a letdown. Thinking that number 1 was going to be something different. But give me a second here. Let me explain this. I started off saying, make your plan. Let's break this down. I told you at the very beginning, it's all sequential, 5 down to 1. So 5. If you're making your plan, you're writing it out, you're looking for those quick bumps to see what's there. Whether you're checking your diagnostic codes, checking the rating criteria. Okay. You're also identifying if any of those musculoskeletal conditions you're service connected for is lower than what it should be. On top of that, while you're reviewing it, you're also identifying if any of those conditions were potentially masked by medication. If any of those conditions, if you're constantly taking meds for your service-connected knee, hips, back, whatever it is, okay, then you already have all your service-connected conditions there. You're looking for those secondary ones now. Looking for those secret weapons. While you're identifying those, you're getting the medical evidence. You're updating that, make sure that the VA has everything in their system. Combine those all together, and that naturally leads you to filing that claim for increase or filing for that supplemental claim. Okay? Your plan is new evidence. New evidence you don't have to necessarily submit as a plan. You don't have to submit that. But your plan and that new evidence equal new opportunities to get to that 100%. As always, let me give you a few bonus tricks here. A few bonus tips. First off, request your C file from the VA. That way, you know everything that's in your file and know what you're up against. Another way, to bump yourself from 70 to 100%, as always, TDIU, or total disability, individual unemployability, is always an option. There are some limitations and guidelines to that, and I didn't want to dig into all of that in this video. But guaranteed, if you're already at 70% or above, you've probably already heard about it, probably already are thinking about it. Now, if you're currently not working due to your service-connected disabilities and you're already at 70% disabling, if one of those conditions is at least 40% or higher, then you may be entitled to TDIU. Okay? If all of your conditions are 10s and 20s that equal 70% or higher, unfortunately, unless all of those conditions are all the same or related to the same condition. So for example, like diabetes, if your diabetes is at 20% and then you have peripheral neuropathy at 10% and hypertension and eye conditions and kidney conditions, if all of those, all your conditions stem from the primary one of diabetes equal to be 40% or higher, then that counts. Otherwise, it doesn't. So there's lots of guidelines to it, lots of ins and outs to TDIU, but that's one more thing to consider. All right, claim advice. In the last video, when I spoke about Ingram v. Collins quite a bit, one of the comments that kept coming up was hypertension and how hypertension should be a part of it. And while on the surface I agree with you, that's not how Ingram v. Collins was written. Okay, Ingram v. Collins talks specifically about musculoskeletal conditions and the effects of the medication. The medication that you take for hypertension is already built in to the exam. And let me show you. All right, before we get to the DBQ, let's talk about how the VA evaluates hypertension. So generally with hypertension, there's a number. Let's say it's 120 over 100. Okay, the 120 is the systolic number. The 100 is the diastolic. Now, predominantly, the VA evaluates hypertension based on the diastolic number. Okay? And with hypertension readings, it's not just a, hey, they took it once and that's it. It has to be predominantly that number. Okay? And there's more rules and regulations that go into that. But essentially here, if that diastolic number is predominantly 130 or higher, then it's going to get a 60, 120 is 40, 110 is 20. Now, the 10% evaluation is warranted if the diastolic pressure is predominantly 100 or higher, or the systolic number is 160 or more. At that point, you'll be entitled to a 10% evaluation. Now, let's slide over to the DBQ itself. All right, here's the DBQ for hypertension. We're going to slide down here, your name and all that other stuff we don't need to look at. Scroll down here. Let me tell you, it's already shown. So, question 2B, does the Veterans Treatment Plan include taking continuous medication? Yes or no? Yes. Okay. Then there comes a portion about asking about these readings. What are they? Then it asks, does the veteran have a history of diastolic pressure predominantly 100 or more? Now, if they check that box here on 2B that says you're taking medication, and they check yes on 2D, indicating that's 100 or more, then they're considering basically this 2D box is indicating that even if the readings here in this 2C portion is lower than the compensable evaluation, lower than the 10%, then that question 2D will then award you 10%. Now, if your systolic or diastolic pressure is higher than what I just showed in the VA rating schedule, then that is what, you'd be entitled to a higher evaluation. I'm not going to suggest that you stop taking your medications just so your blood pressure is higher when you go in for your exam, okay? I don't think that's healthy. But you do you. That's your decision. Okay. But as far as the medication standpoint, they do take it into consideration. Could they do a better job? Yeah, I'm with you there. I agree with you there. But overall, that's how the VA looks at hypertension. That's how it's addressed. The medication portion is already partially shown on the exam. Now, wrapping up the hypertension part, if there was something that I missed completely that wasn't explained or understood, then please reach out, drop me a comment, let me know what I completely missed, because then I'll talk about it. Then we'll get into it, okay? Now, I'm going to ask you, what is the biggest trick that you know that bumped you up from 50 to 60, from 50 to 70, 70 to 80, okay? What's your trick? I'm asking you only because the information that you provide may be something that I didn't touch on in this video, and it may help another veteran. And if it does, then to me, that's worth it. Okay? As always, do me a favor. If you watch this video and feel like I gave you at least one new trick to try out, then you owe me a thumbs up. Drop me a comment talking about what your one trick was. And as always, please subscribe for more no fluff VA claim tips broken down with a little humor and some honesty. I'm Mr. X. Thanks for being here. This is the VA Top 5.